the mouse is designed for the Mac. The headphones are designed for the Mac. So things not connecting, not working, or things not communicating will not happen on a Mac. Or if it does happen, it won't happen as much. So yes, that does make sense on that side. Wow, is my viewpoint changing? Windows or Mac, which is better? I think the answer is Windows. Simple as that. It's used the most around the world. Mac OS has its advantages. Historically, Mac has been the safer, more secure way of using, because hacking a Mac is a lot harder than hacking a Windows. But Windows is better in terms of on a day-to-day usage, and in terms of most applications will run on Windows, but not all Windows applications will run on Mac. I know you can run Windows on Mac, but in my experience, I've been a Mac user, I've been a Windows user. I tend to lean heavier towards the Windows experience, especially with Microsoft 365 and all those elements. But let's watch a video and see if maybe I've lost my marbles. Let's find out.
Key Finder versus File Explorer, Safari versus Microsoft Edge, window buttons on the top left versus the top right. All of these are part of a bigger debate between Windows and Mac. Even if a Windows laptop was undisputedly better, most Mac users would never switch. And similarly, no matter how good the latest Mac...
To be fair, I think what determines which side you fall under is what you use your computer for. If you are a creative, a video editor, a photographer, an artist, Windows makes the most sense, because there are certain apps that are designed heavily towards iOS. Well, Mac OS, not iOS. Mac OS. That will also work on the iPad, and that makes sense. Whereas if you're on the other side, like a programmer, and you can still do the graphic design or the artistic side of things, but if you're more on the IT side of things, IT people tend to push towards Windows because it has the latest and greatest. Whereas iOS also has, not iOS, Mac OS, because iOS is for phones, Mac OS is for PC. So, sorry, on the Mac OS side, it does have the latest and greatest, but it's using its own chipset, its own design, its own everything. On the Windows side, whatever is out the latest, 13th gen, this, that, it's there. So I guess it depends where you sit in and the use case. If it's light usage here and there for some simple tasks, get the Mac. If it's heavy programming and coding, I tend to lean more to the Windows side. But hey, let's continue.
Book is, why would I buy it if I'm a Windows user? You see, you can no longer just compare the specs of one laptop versus another. Between a Mac Studio and a Dell desktop,
it's not about
there's
specs.
so much more to it. These two companies have designed their operating systems to be seamless once you're used to them, and to be very uncomfortable to leave. Think about it. You need to retrain your hands and press Control versus Command. To close a window, you have to go from the top left or the top right. Such subtle things that would really be easy to standardize and make similar, but they're there for a purpose.
No, it does make sense.
Right now, Windows owns 75% of the market share. But that number is slipping, as macOS has doubled its market share.
Is this global or is this... Okay, this is global. Yeah, global market share held by operating systems. 2013, geez, okay. Look at this graph. Yep. Windows is... Mac OS is increasing slowly over time. I think the reason for that is two things. First of all, the barrier between a Windows and a Mac has become more blurred. That's why when it comes to the price points, historically in 2013, a lot of Windows PCs were so cheap that somebody who wanted to even consider a Mac couldn't get one because the barrier and the gap was so big. And also, transparently, historically, a lot of applications were designed more towards Windows than towards Mac OS. So historically, if you were a heavy user and you wanted consistency and no issues and things being seamless, you would go back to the tried and tested method, which is the Windows side of things. And the Mac OS side was more designed for, artistic people. And as time has progressed, Macs have become, more powerful. Windows prices have shot up to the point where if today you said, I want to buy a Mac or Windows, the price of a Mac is the price of Windows. Like they're basically on par in terms of on the high end of Windows is the price of Macs. But the beauty of Windows is there's still lower ends which Macs can't get to because the high price point. Or higher margins really technically. But I think the main differences are the gaps between the price points have changed. They are copying each other a little bit more, so they're a little bit more similar. Security wise, they're pretty much getting on par. And old Windows users are now thinking, you know what, I'm basically buying a Mac. And to be fair, nowadays a Mac is more of a status symbol. Even if Windows might cost more, just having that logo, people look at you like, okay, he's a Mac user, he's sophisticated. Doesn't really mean that, but hey, let's continue. Let's see and find out in terms of a bit more about this. But I still think Windows is better. I still think Windows makes the most sense for most use cases, and MacBook or Mac OS, I would say, is only for specific applications, mostly editing and design side of things. Let's continue.
In just the past decade. So, which is actually the better operating system, Windows or Mac? Again, because they've been making a really similar looking laptop for so long, you can open it with one finger, it's smooth, it feels...
To be fair, if you do something for your entire life, you get good at it. Mac has been Apple. Mac, Apple, same thing. They have been doing this for a long time. The designs don't change often, but the beauty of that is when they do change, they're built to last. Today, I can buy a 2011 MacBook Pro and it will still feel sturdy. If I bought a 2011 HP Evo something, it will be cracking, breaking, dusty. So yes, I guess the price point also covers the build quality. I guess maybe if you look back at all the units, still the Macs are built to last, and even to this day, hardware wise, I would say Macs are built better to last longer because they're made from metal, whereas Windows are mostly made from plastics. But let's continue. Mostly. There's still some metal built PCs, but let's continue.
Feels like a really nice laptop, and I don't have to worry about this laptop taking on any kind of damage. You see, Macs are very vertically integrated.
Let's continue.
Snap something to the right side, it shows a big pop-up and asks me what I want to put on the left side, and I have to click again to not do that. But speaking of magnets, there are some other apps you can get that just work really well on the top menu bar. And of course, you can get all types of different apps up there, like password managers and VPNs and like Adobe things and Magnet, like I said.
User experience. I'm going to be honest in this one. I think it's easy on a Mac. A Mac is easier to use. It's disaster proof. You can't do a lot to a Mac to break it. Whereas on a Windows, you have... I would say Windows is basically unlimited, unfiltered access to an OS. I know there's others all out there, but in terms of Windows, you can break it. Things can lag. So applications are built to work across different Windows PCs. So when someone is designing an app or a process, it's designed to run on a 4 gig whatever PC up to a 32 gigabyte PC. So it's designed to stretch across different systems, which means that depending on what app you're using, it can run really slow or really fast and this and this and that. So it can chop and change depending on what price point you go for. But on the Mac OS side, each app is optimized for Mac, which means it covers from the low to the high end. So the experience doesn't differ that much between a Mac Air and a MacBook Pro. The only differences you will probably see is download and upload speed or read and write speeds. So usability wise, user experience wise, I still think Mac is better on that side of things because it's designed to be easier. That's why Apple have a bigger market share.
As well as quick settings like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth settings right up in the top that feel more consistent with what we're seeing on phones. But getting into like some little setting just to get your laptop back up and running. But Mac,
Yeah,
I have not had to do anything like that ever.
that's true. Stability wise, everything on a Mac is built to work with a Mac in terms of the Apple ecosystem. So, which means that the mouse is designed for the Mac, the headphones are designed for the Mac. So, things not connecting, not working, or things not communicating will not happen on a Mac. Or if it does happen, it won't happen as much. So yes, that does make sense on that side. Wow, is my viewpoint changing? Ecosystem wise, yes, the Mac is better, and the last one is security wise. They're pretty much on par. Honestly, I think it would make the most sense to, if you have the money, get a Mac if you want to. But everything a Mac can do, a Windows can do, and it also has that ability to be also a little bit cheaper. In terms of price points, they are very similar in terms of price. On the high end, if you want the same price as a Mac, there's a Dell XPS. There is Lenovo Legion laptops. There is higher end PC alternatives to Macs that have better design sometimes. But what do you think? Are you a Mac user, Windows user? I'm being biased on this because I've been using Windows for a long time, and Mac, it's all right. But anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. What are you? Are you a Mac user or Windows user? Peace.